Jump to the Deliver page, click on the Audio tab, expand Normalization, tick the box, select the YouTube standard, and then optimize to standard is a pretty good starting point. But why? Well, let me explain, but first, levels. This is the exact volume at any particular moment, measured in decibels. Loudness. This is how we perceive the sound overall, usually measured in lufs or lukafs. Think of levels as the numbers and loudness as the overall vibe, man. Anyway, that's important. So that's out of the way. Let's now talk about audio normalization for YouTube in Davinci Resolve. Now, this was a feature they added back in Davinci Resolve 18.6 that then upgraded it in Davinci Resolve 19, I believe it was. And it allows you to automatically normalize the audio in your project to meet YouTube's standards. In plain English, this means you can automatically adjust the overall audio of your project to be the right volume, the right loudness for YouTube. But it's not magic. You still need to do some work. Here's what it can do, and here's what it can't do. It will adjust the loudness and the peak levels of your audio at an overall project level to match YouTube's standards, which means it gives you a quick, simple, easy way to ensure the overall loudness is consistent with YouTube and all of the other videos on YouTube, providing that everyone else has also normalized their videos. But you get the idea. Here's a quick example. Here's a timeline. It's got one audio track on there. On this recording over here, I had my mic turned all the way down. This one particular track. So it's really quiet. And on this other timeline, I had my microphone turned all the way up. Quite loud. It's really quite loud. If I rendered them both without normalization, this one would be quiet, this one would be loud. However, if we render them both just using the audio normalization, the result is two exports, this is going to need normalization, of too much noise, that sound roughly the same in terms of loudness, because the normalization has brought the quiet one up and the loud one down to meet YouTube's standards. Got it? What it won't do is balance the different sections of your audio on the timeline. So that example was just one simple clip. If you've got a bunch of different clips on the timeline, some are quiet, some are loud, all that sort of thing, the normalization won't fix that. You'll still need to spend some time balancing the individual clips. You can do this using keyframes, you can use the timeline normalization options, which are a little bit different, or you could even use the dialogue leveler, which is the topic of next week's video, so stick around for that. What it also won't do is mix your actual tracks. So you'll still need to balance the voiceover and the music and the sound effects and all that stuff individually. If your music is too loud compared to your dialogue on the timeline, it will still be too loud after you export, even with the normalization, because the normalization won't fix it. So, where is it? If you jump over to the Deliver page, you've got all of your Deliver settings over on the left. Click on the little Audio tab at the top, scroll right to the bottom, and you will see Audio Normalization. Give it a click to expand, and you'll see your normalization options in here. First thing to select is the standard. There's a bunch of different standards in here. We've got things like Disney and all sorts. The one we want is, of course, YouTube. This sets the target level to -1 decibel, so any spikes will meet but not exceed that -1, while also setting the target loudness to -14 lufs. So the general loudness, once again, will meet but not exceed -14, which is perfect for YouTube. Then you've got to select, do you want to do normalize or optimize? Which one should you choose? Normalize to standard is basically like a simple volume knob. It adjusts the overall volume so that the peak level hits the target without actually exceeding it. So if you've got some loud spikes, it's going to lower the entire level to keep those spikes in check. If all of the peaks are below the threshold, it's just going to dial it up to bring everything up to that target level. Optimize to standard is a little bit smarter. It will not only manage the spikes, but also keeps the overall loudness within the desired range. So it balances things up just a little bit more effectively. Here's a quick example. This timeline here, there's some really quiet dialogue, it's me kind of mumbling, and right at the end, there's a big loud clap. Here's the normalized version, really quietly on this one particular track. And here is optimize, really quietly on this one particular track. Normalize has simply dialed the entire volume down to make sure that that spike doesn't exceed the -1 dB, while Optimize has also tried to keep that spike in check while also bringing up the general loudness to be closer to that -14 LUFS threshold. But remember, it won't work miracles. An inconsistent mess of a timeline like this, even when using Optimize, is still going to come out looking like this. You still need to spend the time manually leveling your audio. So, which one should you choose? Well, Normalize is really good for kind of simple timelines. If your audio is mostly consistent without any large volume spikes or big shifts, Normalize is ideal. It'll bring everything up or down to meet the required levels. If your timeline has some loud peaks or sections that could cause the audio to go over the threshold, Optimize will handle this a little bit better. But it does go full circle. If you've already spent the time carefully mixing your timeline, especially if you've done some sound design and you've got some really intentionally quiet parts in there, Normalize may be this safer option. Optimize could potentially bring up any of those quiet moments unintentionally, ruining all of that nice sound design you spent ages working on. So in that instance, Normalize might be the better option. Anyway, once you've selected which one's which, add it to your render queue, jump over to the render queue, hit render, and job done. Now during the rendering, you'll notice that this time it will do 2 passes. The first pass will analyze the audio and adjust the loudness and the levels as required. Only in the actual output render though, it won't actually change anything on the timeline. Then the second pass will do the actual rendering itself. Now this of course does add a little bit of time to your render, but it shouldn't be too long. Depends on the length of the video and your system's processing speed and all that sort of thing, but generally it's pretty quick. Also worth mentioning, the YouTube export preset now includes this feature by default, which makes life a little bit easier. But you can also include it in any of your own export presets as well. If you want to know how to make those, I have made a video in the past, so I'll link it on screen for you to go watch now. So that pretty much covers everything. I hope all of that made sense. If it did, let me know. If it didn't, also let me know. Thanks for watching, take it easy. I'll see you next week where we're talking about the dialogue leveler.